And we'll be talking about what we gave for these items, and we'll be talking about the actual value of these things today and what they are at auction. And I think you'll be pleased with what you see.
And we're also live on YouTube right now, so be sure to cheer as loud as you possibly can so people know we're not talking to no one.
By all means.
In fact, look,
We've got a whole group of people in here. What's up, everybody?
we figured we do a Talking Retro podcast once a week generally, or every other week. We try to get it in, and we might as well go live and use this panel to do that this time. And so we won't be answering questions online. If you are watching, awesome, thanks you guys. We're answering y'all's questions eventually. Andy's up first. He is the man with the plan. Do it, buddy.
So we're going to kick it off with a few fancy items here. These are things that I acquired going way into the country where your GPS quits working and, you know, the land that time forgot, and just found some fantastic stuff here. We've got an actual complete in-box copy of Secret of Evermore on the Super Nintendo. Was so happy to acquire this, and this is one of those, like, you're not going to find this in the wild, and then you do. And then that's a baby you can put to bed. Super Star Wars Return of the Jedi, also complete in the box. This turned out to be a trailer park. Old lady had a box of stuff. And you know, when you get that far out, it's kind of nice because once you're out there, there's nobody else breathing down your neck trying to get it. You're all by yourself. She had advertised a yard sale. And if any of you do yard sale, you've probably seen the yard sale apps. You probably go on Craigslist. But she was going to do this on a Saturday. We hit her up in the middle of the week, and I just said, hey, can we go ahead and just come on out and take a look at this stuff? She said, sure, I'd love to go ahead and get the money. I went right out there and got all this stuff, and then I was free Saturday to do everything else I wanted to do. And these two items here I acquired at a similar kind of yard sale, way out in the country, had no idea where I was. This guy was just selling a collection. His whole front yard was like what you see in some of these vendor rooms. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Ended up with a copy of Nobunaga's Ambition 2, complete in the box, extremely spicy meatball. I didn't even know how spicy at the time. And, you know, we'll talk a bit about knowing how spicy your meatballs are ahead of time before we get to the end of this production here. But also got a copy of Zoda's Revenge, the second Star Tropics game. So these ended up being lotted together with large groups of things because obviously I didn't just buy these things from them. But we had a net cost in the first two items, only had about $5 a piece in these two with what all I gave. Secret of Evermore being the spiciest of the two. This sucker right here, let's see this one's weighing in anywhere from $60 to $100 at auction right now. In this condition, it's a little rough around the edges. I mean, this would probably come in around the $70 mark, but still $5 in it. Good God Almighty. Return of the Jedi, not quite as spicy a meatball, but still, in this condition, you know, anywhere from $30 to $45, probably on the higher end of that, as decent as it looks. A little bit of a price sticker there, but still, just fantastic to find it in that condition.
And it's complete as well?
Absolutely complete, yeah, as were these two. Zoda's Revenge.
We're going to talk about that game because I kind of need that one.
Yeah, we may. Absolutely complete. This guy kind of knew what he had, but he needed to sell, and you run into people like that sometimes. Ended up having about $8 in this. This one's valued anywhere from $30 to $45 at auction in this condition. It's probably on the higher end, probably around $45. This is where it got crazy. And again, this was one I had no idea it was that expensive. I gave $15 for it. This sucker complete is anywhere from 200 to 215 bones. The first one's not that rare. This one is. So I really hit a home run swing on that. Had $15 in this, $8 in Zoda's Revenge. So the lessons there is be ready to travel, and you know that because you do a lot more traveling than I do. But you know, it doesn't mean there won't be some low-hanging fruit in your area. You know, when you get into the big city, though, you're going to get into people fighting over games. You're going to see lines of cars at some of these yard sales when they're actually advertised, and that gets a little hairy. I don't mind throwing some bows, but I'd rather not. So you know, I've had some of my best scores just hitting the road, going out to, again, where the GPS stops working. You're still going to see yard sale signs, and you're going to find some of this stuff. So those are some neat things to find. Moving right along, we're going to look at a couple of these N64 games I brought here. We got GoldenEye 007. Everybody remembers that one. Super fun game. I found these two games with a bunch of other things at a lady's yard sale, and she had a boxed N64, which immediately caught my eye. She wanted $150 for the whole collection, right? So I opened the box up and there's no system in it. Just empty N64 game boxes. So I'm looking around, I find this tub full of NES games, an NES system, and a bunch of games in a tub, including all the guts for these. I was sitting there doing the work and filling them up, and I'm panicking because people are around me, they're looking, I know they want it. Yeah, we're getting to that.
You're watching.
We're
Sorry.
getting to that one.
That's how you find the best stuff. You just take it from your buddy.
And the lady's getting all bent out of shape, so I was like, ma'am, this isn't an N64. I said, that's the old NES. That's an old system. And I can see her devaluing it in her eyes. She's getting all upset, and she's getting flustered, looking at eBay on her phone. I know I got to act quick. I said, look, this isn't really what it says it is. I'd like to just give you $50 for all of it. And then she started screaming obscenities and said, and I won't scream them at you, but she did. And then she let me have it for $50. I've never run that fast with that much stuff in my arms before. And yeah, I know what you're thinking too. It's like, you ripped her off, but you can't ever feel that way because you assume the risk. For every one of these gems you're going to see here, I've gotten plenty more that was pieces of crap that couldn't be refurbished, couldn't be cleaned, ended up in the trash can, usually still come out in the green, but you're going to take a bath on some of this stuff. So it's just something to think about. But can't be afraid to beat them up and be ready to take your time because, you got to see what's in these things. They ended up being empty boxes. I had $2 in this one net, and then I've got a complete Mario 64. Again, just $2 in it. When I break up all the games I got total, that's about what I've got in these. GoldenEye, anywhere from $30 to $40 complete in this condition right here. And this one probably more on the higher end of that, probably closer to 40 because it's in good shape. Luckily, these were hidden in the N64 box, so they were protected from time, but this one's really on the climb. And for a while there, it wasn't. You could get one of these for about $30 complete for a while, because it's common. Everybody had it. Everybody throws the word rare. Oh, it's rare. Rare, it's rare. Yeah, it's rare. Now, everybody had it. You didn't know anybody that didn't have this game. So this one right now is going anywhere from 50 to 100 skins at auction complete. So you really got to keep an eye on the market, too. Have your eBay apps ready. Be ready to look on there at completed auctions before you buy, because these things could dip or go up at any moment and really change your buying decision. Drop of a hat. But there again, $2 for each of those. Feeling good about that. Moving right along to this little gem right here.
Oh, man.
And this was a great story. Battletoads Double Dragon on the NES. Always wanted this one. And this falls into the category of I'm never going to find this one in the wild. And then I did. Pulled up to another trailer park. Rough trailer park. Didn't even want to get out. But got out. There was just trash all over the yard, no video games, but I'm still looking. It is a yard sale. Next thing I know, a giant pit bull comes barreling around the back of the thing. So immediately the next thing I hope I find is a clean pair of underpants, regardless of who was wearing them before. I'm kind of skittish around dogs, and this was a big one. So the lady sitting there on the steps smoking a cigarette, that's a nice picture of meat right there. Nice picture of meat. I'm like, that's great, but I'm still messing my trousers here. Do you have any video games? She said, nah, I ain't got no video games. And then her daughter's like, no, I think we do have some Nintendo games. I was like, well, could you check? Runs into the house to go get these things. I have no idea what she's coming out with, and the dog's sitting there just growling at me. He's dropped a basketball at my feet. She's going, he wants you to play with him. He wants you to play with him. So I'm starting to go for the basketball. I want to humor the dog, but then I think, am I going to get my forearm back after I do this? Because, again, it's a pit bull. I go for the ball. It barely gets out of my hand when I throw it up. That thing jumps face high and snags it out of the air. So I'm getting skittish. Next thing I know, another car pulls up. These two ladies get out, and they say from the road, we're here about the Nintendo games. God, competition. They already knew they were here. They're coming to get them. I just stop out here randomly. So at about that time, here comes her daughter with a stack of NES games. And they're already craning their necks out. They're wanting to get in on them. The dog wouldn't have none of it. I got a weird shining thing that goes with dogs. I don't understand it completely, but the pit bull hunkers down in front of me and just starts growling. And they're kind of backing up. Here's the lady getting, nice picture of me. Nice picture of me. But they're keeping their distance. So I'm like, snap out of it. Snap out of it. Where are we going to do games right now? So I turn my attention to the games, and I see this thing, and I'm just flipping out. And I cherry-picked it. I left them a little bit. Don't ever feel like you have to do that. Get it. But I had to have this. And they only wanted $1 a piece for these things. So I got it and got out of there. The pit bull I owe him a drink because, oh my God, Battletoads Double Dragon. This sucker right here for $1, even loose, because this one's obviously not complete, goes anywhere from 70 to 90 bucks. Would it have been worth my forearm? Probably not. But the lesson here, and it seems like a no-brainer, ask everybody. I didn't think these people could even spell video game, but they have video games. You never know who's got them, and it can be just anybody. I'm always just shocked at some of the stuff people pull out of their attics, their basements, their crawl spaces, and they didn't even think that it had any value or to put it out. So
I've seen that go for $1.25 loose at,
and
at
you see
conventions.
some,
Like,
and you do a lot with Amazon and stuff like that. You do a lot of conventions. The prices I'm giving you are probably very conservative. I'm probably shooting myself very low on these things. But again, $1. Ask everybody. I mean, good Lord Almighty. And that kind of goes into my next part here. This goes into the next piece. We're going to be talking about some networking. That's a very broad term. But let's look at these items first, and I'm going to explain how I got these. Mega Man X2 on the Super Nintendo. I'm sure they've got some Mega Man fans in here. Anybody? Anybody?
oh, yeah.
Now, albeit loose, but it's absolutely beautiful. And along with it, a copy of Konami's Metal Warriors. This has got to be one of the rarest games in print on the system.
That's what I was trying to steal just a minute ago. Get it over here and just bring it home.
Networking. Make sure that people you know that you do this. And by that, I mean family members, friends, co-workers, your boss, anyone that you can think of, because you're not going to catch everything through social media and through talking to people and just, through the grapevine. But these right here, my sister got these for me from some lady in a mom's group that she joined online that was selling a Super Nintendo and a box of games on a virtual yard sale for 40 bucks. You want me to pick those up? I said, sure. The system's worth at least that, and who knows what games are in it. This lady, I mean, this was dadgum Fort Knox in this box. This was just two of the spiciest ones that were in there, but 40 bucks for this thing, and I did nothing to get it. I mean, I merely went to her house and picked these things up.
That's not true. You let it be known that you were into
I
games,
let it
and
be
your
known.
circle knows that you're into games,
And
they were
she
looking
put it
for
out there
so-
that it was known. This lady knew that she knew somebody that may want
Right.
these things. So some of the most expensive things on the table right here, and I did not have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn to go get them. And again, only had $1 in both of these, and we're talking $150 to $220 at auction for a copy of Metal Warriors. A little lower on this one because it's got some writing on it and whatnot.
It's a Blockbuster video copy, I'm
It
guessing?
is. This is actually my personal copy. The other copy was much nicer, and then I ended up moving that for her because
Some people,
I didn't need
some
it, but
collectors like the Blockbuster labels. They like where it came from type of thing. So
It has
I
character.
have seen people sell that game for $300 with the Blockbuster label on it. You know what I mean? Like loose.
That's insane.
Complete in the box, it's about $700. The guy that's at my booth actually has one that's near mint, and I kind of wanted to give him everything on my table for it. That's I don't have that one. I'm missing some of the big bangers like that. But
Well, and aside from the thing to remember, there's a lot of expensive games out there that really aren't that good. They're just rare.
That one's
This is
great.
actually emulate it. Do whatever you got to do to play Metal Warriors. It is fantastic.
Worth your time.
Soundtrack, if you're a Robotech fan especially, and I'm a certified Robotech historian. Mega Man X2, let's see where that one weighed in. Anywhere from 85 to 120 for a loose X2. X3 is the real belle of the ball, but didn't have it, and I so needed it. Again, only had $1 in it. Make sure everybody you know knows you have these things. I got a buddy that works at a Pizza Hut and manages it, and every new hire he brings in, the first thing he asks them is, do you have Nintendo games? 9 times out of 10 they do, and they want the job so bad they make sure they sacrifice every 8 and 16-bit thing in their house to make sure they can flip pizzas the next night. The irony being that those games are probably worth more than they'll ever make at Pizza Hut.
the first paycheck will not be as much as
Yeah,
the game.
but again, you're just amazed by what people have sometimes. So network. And I wanted to include a couple newer items here, just for the heck of it, because they can't all be retro. It's important to know that even a few generations back, there are some games that are really on up there in value. So I found an F-Zero GX at a yard sale. Guy was selling his whole collection. I guess he knew what he had, but he didn't care. Everything was $5, $5. This sucker right here is anywhere from 35 to 45 bucks. If I got a nicer case around this thing, it's complete. We're talking $45 to $50 for one of these, and I really wanted this game. I'm a big D&D guy. Got a hold of a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, but this is the interesting part of how we got it. And this is the lesson that it teaches. Don't ever be a condition snob. Don't ever avoid something because it's disc only. And buy your empty boxes when you see them if it's for good games. Because I know I've passed up on some I wish I just went ahead and got. But I found the disc and the box for this in two completely different places. The disc was in some guy's Case Logic book. He'd thrown all his boxes out. But he had this. Gave him $1 for it. I found the box at somebody's yard sale later on where somebody had obviously nabbed all of his games out of the box, but he still had the boxes. So I was like, I'll give you $1 for the box. Married these sucker up. Now $2 has become 45 to 50 easily. So snag up your empty boxes and buy your disc-only copies if you see them, even if they're scratched up. There's people that'll resurface them for you. Totally worth getting. So I think that is all our visuals that I brought in today. But the important thing to note here is there's $32 in all this stuff. And we got a value here of anywhere to $750 to $800 sitting on this table. All I had to do was go out there and look for it. It is out there. It is out there to get. So just absolutely fantastic stuff. And so glad to have it to show you today. Anybody out there already retro collecting? And you may have some of these things, you may have seen some of these things, but yeah, again, it's out there for you to grab. This is what I do. I do a YouTube show. Anybody, before you go, make sure you get one of my cards here. This is our first actual live episode of Yard Sale Findings and Scavenging. So,
Merge poster, where'd it go?
would love to have you in some of our retro live streams that we do, and would love to get you in some of the episodes as well. Question back there?
Anywhere that you know you may be able to find TI,
Texas Instruments.
either equipment or games.
I know a place right now that has a TI computer for sale. It's in Snellville.
We have the full thing with voice activated.
Okay,
That's amazing.
that's pretty wicked. I don't know if they have any software for it, but I know that there's a TI for sale at one of the flea markets I go to. I'm not really a big computer gamer, 8-bit or 16-bit or whatever, the Atari 800 XL, whatever it may be. It's a little bit above my pay grade.
I'm much more of a console gamer and arcade pinball freak. So
I saw one at a flea market once, and it was not in the greatest condition, and he was really wanting to talk some serious turkey on it. So I kept walking, but there again, that's out there too. Now, to be fair, I've never seen another one since. You know, they're definitely not
they're
taken from trees or anything.
rare as rocking horse poop.
Yeah, unicorn turds, but yeah, it's a super cool piece. So I would hope that I eventually run up on one again. I would like to own one. But yeah, $32 in all this, and you know, with all the duplicate stuff that came in all the lots, and you know, you're gonna trade some stuff, you're gonna sell some stuff. Really, after all that, I have nothing in any of this, and this is a very small portion of a rather large collection. So it can be done, it's fun to do, there's literally no risk other than the occasional pit bull.
How large is your collection?
It's disgusting. Is what
It is, and you know, it's behind me on every episode, but I would insure it at no less than 20 grand. And I don't.
And you have your childhood stuff too. Let's not.
I
Andy
do.
is not a reseller per se. He'll sell a couple things here and there to make some money back, but he keeps everything he's ever owned basically.
Not in value, but in number of pieces.
In number of pieces, I mean, we're definitely talking anywhere from.
I don't know, dude.
I mean, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000.
I've seen it a few
games.
times and
I'm
it
not
boggles my
selling that
mind.
short. You know, I've been overdue to take an inventory for years now, and it really needs to be done because we're amassing new stuff every weekend. Unless you had a full crew actually working at it, it's actually kind of hard to keep up with. They make great apps for that now that'll go in there and actually value those things. And that's a good point too, because they value them at price charting. I did want to bring up price charting. Those numbers get fluffed a lot, so don't use those to value things when you're purchasing them. Stick to eBay and you know the lowest amount that it's currently sold for.
I believe J&J Games owns Price Charting and runs that site, and he's got his own giant shop in New
That would
York.
make sense.
And let's just say it can get inflated because of he's got backstock. You know what I mean? Like he's got 30 of these games, and no, this game just became $50 on here. You know what I mean? So he can start getting rid of them on eBay faster. I don't know if that's the case. I could be lying. Could be making up stories. It's now on the internet, though. That's good.
So it's gotta be true.
It's got to be true. It's someone
And
said
that's
it on the
some of
internet.
Stories that I had for these things, and I know that the captain that makes it happen here has got his own share of tales and things about his adventures abroad. So, Captain, I'm going to turn it over to you for a bit. Captain?
Oh, thanks, buddy. Hi, everyone. I'm CaptNRetro. My name's Kevin. I have a channel. Check it out. In fact, the last thing I uploaded was a $60 score that I picked up off OfferUp the other night that was $2,300 in value of PlayStation 2 games and a couple other systems. But all the big banger horror games, with the exception of Rule of Rose, was there. If you're familiar with any of these titles, all the Fatal Frames, all the Silent Hills, all the Battlesuit Gundam, what is it called? Different Gundam,
Yeah, there's
Battle
so many
Arena
different
Gundam,
Gundams.
and all these Mech Warrior stuff. I have everything I've ever wanted, and I can't stop hunting. I got the addiction, and I about 5 years deep of every other day, if not every day, Goodwill, thrift store, pawn shop, Goodwill, thrift store, pawn shop, yard sale, Goodwill, thrift store, pawn shop, and it becomes a pile of stuff that you find, and I feel. I do resell. I go to cons and sell things. I beat the internet is my thing. If it goes for $50 on eBay and you've seen, I'll show you, pull it up in front of you, and how about $25? I know what I've got in it. Most of the time, it isn't much. And I like to refurbish, repair, and restore to the community. Like, let's get it back out there. I'm not looking for top dollar on things. Now, I have sold a couple things that were top dollar that I couldn't believe. I put them online. Sometimes I have an Amazon account, and sometimes I'll put stuff up there that I don't want to sell right away, but I wanted it to be listed. So when I do decide to sell it, it's already up there, and I got to worry about it. There's a cart called the Star Fox Super Weekend Championship cart.
Yeah.
I paid $400 for that thing, which is a chunk of change. And at the time, it was going for around $1,000 online, but I made some trades with the guy who had it, and I paid him $400 cash and a couple things in trade. And I set it up on eBay for about 3 months at the $1,200 mark. I was like, this is even over the $1,000, and it sat there and sat there and sat there. And then somebody else put one up for $2,000 loose, and I was like, well, I'll undercut this guy, $19.99.99, and it sold like a day later for $19.99.99. I couldn't believe it. I didn't really expect it to sell. I didn't really want to sell it, but it was too late at that point. Like, oh well, I guess it's gone now, so let me ship it. And I worked at a pawn shop. Is how I really got back into this. I've been gaming my entire life. I was born in '78. My first console was an Odyssey 2, Magnavox Odyssey 2. Then we went to Nintendo, Super Nintendo, a Sega Master System. I never had a Genesis as a kid. And now I've got like 30 of them floating around the house. GameCube, everything that comes out, let me go get it. I'm all into the modern consoles. I love my PS4 is my favorite right now. But at the pawn shop, I was managing a pawn shop, and this guy brought in a bucket full of games one day, and my manager wouldn't take them. He's like, we can't sell that. Don't buy those from that guy. I'm like, do you mind if I buy them for myself? I used to have this Super Mario Brothers 3 that's in here. I kind of want it back. And I didn't, my parents sold off all of our stuff in yard sales when I went to college. I came back to a barren room. It looked like a hotel. I was like, what happened to all my posters and my awesomeness that was in here? My Ninja Turtles. Where are my Ninja Turtles? And they were gone. And so that was about, let's see. I've been out of high school now. I'll be 40 in July. So that was 20 years ago or so, roughly, that my stuff was gone when I got back to my parents' house. And I've been slowly reacquiring little things here and there, but about 6 years ago, I really got back into it, and that was from the pawn shop. I got this box. I paid the guy $30 he was looking for, and it was about $100 worth of stuff. It wasn't super amazing, impressive, and even at the time, it wasn't super expensive stuff. It's all common. Super Mario 1, 2, 3, a Duck Hunt, a Gyromite. I was like, I want this whole box of stuff, and that triggered something in my head, and I couldn't stop from that day on. I was online looking for deals, looking on Craigslist, bringing people, calling them to come into the pawn shop and bring me that bucket of stuff. Hey, man, bring it to my pawn shop. I'll buy it from you. Unheard of type of things, and I started making the pawn shop a lot of money on their eBay account doing that for them. And then I got fired for being too nice and asking for a raise, I guess. I don't know what it was. I asked for a raise. I'm like, I'm making you guys like 20 grand a month on eBay. Can I get like 5% of that or something? Like, I'm working for 10 bucks an hour. They didn't want to hear it. I got fired. I said, I can do this for myself. So I started with about $2,000 and started buying things and saving and selling. And I want that one. I'm keeping that one, but the rest of these get sold. And I'm buying this one, and the rest of these get sold. And for the last 4 years, I've worked for myself, flipping things. I'm also a musician. That I do stuff. I make movie soundtracks and TV score stuff, and I do boom op work on television shows. But the main bulk of my income comes from flipping and buying games. At least it has in the last year and a half, especially. So we got done doing a whole movie soundtrack, and it's now a year and a half later. It comes out in August. The movie's called Along Came the Devil, and it's an exorcism film, horror movie, and it comes out in August, and I can't wait for that. But I haven't worked on a set since we worked and did the soundtrack for that movie. So in the meantime, every 3 months or so, I'll find a con to go to and go make a little boatload of cash and come on home. And otherwise, I'm selling stuff on Amazon. And I have everything I've ever wanted, and my collection is free. You know what I mean? Like, everything I own, there's not a nickel in it anymore. It's all been paid off and paid for and was free to get. Now, I have in the last 6 months to 8 months, I've gone arcade pinball crazy. August, yes, August of last year, basically right after this convention from last year. I didn't know this convention existed. I live in Atlanta. I did not know this convention was a thing until last year, and I came out here and it blew my mind that there's so many like-minded arcade and pinball freaks, and I was like, wow, that you could own a pinball machine? I'd never even thought about buying my own pinball machine. That's what I want to do. So I sold like 70% of my personal collection in August last year, about $18,000 worth of stuff for $13,500 to a guy who's actually at the con here, and he's brought some machines. He's now become a buddy, Don and Damien. They're somewhere out there. But I sold an arcade cabinet. I had a Batman arcade machine, and I sold a bunch of my boxed games and all my best stuff to this guy, and bought a Ghostbusters pinball machine, and went, paid off my truck, or made that money work for me. But in the last 8 months, I've basically reacquired, with the exception of the box stuff, everything that I sold that guy, and it's still sitting there for free because of the way you buy in lots. If you can buy it in a lot, buy it in a lot. Talk the price down as much as you can get it. Get that whole lot, keep what you want, sell the other stuff. I would say the very last episode of my show is called The Best $60 I've Ever Spent. If you go look up CaptNRetro, it should pop up there. And that box, like I said, is about $2,300 in retail value on Amazon. And I've sold a bunch of those things in here right now. If it's going for 50 on Amazon, give me 35 bucks. You know what I mean? Like I'll eat the 10%, I'll get the cash, and I'll get going. I don't necessarily keep everything I buy because I already have everything I want. When I sold that guy the personal collection, I kept everything that I had as a kid and everything that I rented a lot and would play with my friends as a kid. And the crazy thing about Andy and I is we went to elementary school together, middle school together, high school, and then we kind of fell off. Like, didn't talk to each other about
20
years, 18 years, something like that, some ridiculous number. And then one day I get a message on my YouTube page from him, and he's like, I can't believe you're doing the same thing I'm doing, dude. And I'm like, what? Is that Andy Murray? It is. Oh my God, he's doing the same thing. And we've become it's just like being back in 6th grade again when we talk. I can't explain it other than if I get nothing else out of YouTube, I've got one of my best friends on the planet back, and that's cool to me. But long story short, which is impossible with a guy like me, always, you can't, most of y'all have real jobs, I'm sure, 40-hour a week, actual business jobs. I don't know exactly what y'all do, obviously, but I made this a full-time obsession and a full-time job out of it because I can take the time. If I'm working on movie set, I might go work for 3 months, but then I'm off for 2 months until I find some other work. So those 2 months that I'm off, every day I'm out hunting, I'm out hustling and working and looking for stuff. And again, thrift stores, yard sales, flea markets, pawn shops, garage sales, your aunt's best friend, anybody that you know that knows you should know that you are into old gaming. Don't hide it. Don't be scared to admit, I love retro video gaming. They will come out of the woodwork to find you stuff. I had another buddy from Donnie Delp from high school.
Yeah.
He had all his stuff. He was one of those kids that kept it in the box and kept it all, everything was pristine and mint, and he hadn't touched it in 20 years and said, dude, I know you're playing old games and doing stuff. You want to come get this stuff? Give me $100. And I probably made about $3,000 in profit off of that and kept the 3 games that I really, really wanted out of the stack. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how you got to do it. Now, people will say, scumbag reseller, dirty flipper. Not necessarily.
You assume the risk.
The scumbag resellers are the guys who clean the flea market out before the morning starts from the other vendors, and then they leave their stuff sitting out in the sun for 6 years to bake, and they want top dollar eBay numbers on it, and they're not looking to make a deal. They don't want to haggle. Haggling is the key. Always be haggling. If they want $20 for them, throw them 10. Come on, give me 10, and take it up to 16. Go to 60% of that value, 70% of that value if you got to get it. And sometimes if you got to have it, give them the $20. You know what I mean? It's not going to kill you to do that. You'll make that money back somewhere else in this game if that's what you're trying to do is collect or become a reseller, basically, where your collection becomes free. On my show, the games are always changing out behind me because that's what I do. I keep certain things for a while until I beat it, and if I love it, it stays in the collection, and then I want it complete in the box. If I found it loose, like that Uncharted Waters New Horizons on the SNES, I'm in love with that game, so now I want the whole box, and that's like a $300 game complete. I'll get around to finding the manual from somebody, trade them for that, get this thing. The best thing about the community on YouTube is it's like being with your buddies in school and trading games. Like, dude, I need that game. What do you want for that? Or, hey, I know you were talking about this on the last episode. Would you want to trade that for this? And it's really, it's like trading games in school, man. Like we used to, borrow the Sega Master System for a week, and you take the Nintendo, and then
I was a Sega kid. Most
I
people
was
were Nintendo kids, so yeah.
it was cool to go to Andy's house because it was like going to a foreign country. Because
Yeah, it's
no,
like
I ain't got any,
stuff.
I ain't got any Sega, man. What is a Sega? There's no commercials for this, are there? I'd never seen one. So it's just diligence. The thing in real estate is location. Mostly in life, location and timing and persistence. Same thing. I would say it's networking, and what we do is make the connections, let people know what you do. If you've got cards, hand them out everywhere you go. My truck has 2 magnetic things that say CaptNRetro, Vintage Game Hunter, little pictures of stuff on it, like come on and sell me some games. I'll come buy cash, cash for games type of thing. My ultimate goal really is to open a barcade. I'd love to have my own little barcade with a retro shop attached. CaptNRetro's Barbacade. And do barbecue and pinball and arcade games. The name is trademarked, so don't try and steal that because it's pretty impressive. It's not trademarked. Shh. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, guys online, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing off because I got some more notes and I'm going to have to look them up. Bye-bye. Say bye, Andy.
Bye-bye.